Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 2 versus 2 on Pegasus Bridge, and today I'm going to be playing the 6th Airborne, and I'm going to be playing with Val, who is using the 2nd Infantry Division. I'm playing against Faust and IC again, who were the 2v2 we played against on the Bois de l'Amour map, the big old forest, where the map basically turned on its side as I took the forest and Val unfortunately lost on the left side. So in this one, Val's going to be taking the right, I'm going to be taking the left. We chose to do it this way simply because we felt that the 6th Airborne would probably do better in this sort of town landscape, and then the 2nd Infantry maybe does better sort of with the little forest areas where they can actually use the napalm and the engineers and so on. So that's pretty much what we were going for in this one, and basically this whole game was a chance for Faust and IC to beat us. They have already beaten us once before, but it was a very short game. Basically, it basically came down to a flamethrower unit coming into a town and demolishing like all of my unit at the beginning of the game, and so we basically just gave that victory to them and carried on. So it wasn't like the best video in the world that if I wanted to show it to you guys, because it was literally finished in like under 10 minutes, so I would have recorded that, but instead I'm going to bring you guys this one, which was a very interesting game. Didn't go all the way to the whole 40 minutes, but was pretty long, and there's a lot to talk about, that's for sure. It's an interesting sort of clash of decks. We are playing against the 12th SS Panzer and the 3rd Fallschirmjäger. So two of one of the, well, the more powerful decks, I would say, on the opposing side of things, the Axis battle groups. SS Panzer is really strong, and 3rd Fallschirmjäger probably one of the better 1v1 battle groups at the moment. 6th Airborne's pretty damn strong, and 2nd Infantry is okay. I'm not a big fan of 2nd Infantry at all, honestly. It's probably my least favourite battle group. So yeah, either way, let's just have a look at the sort of units I'm bringing. So I do have Airborne Paras, and I also have Airborne Bren Group on this division. I've also got Command Infantry with a couple of Tetrarch CSs. Aside from that, I've got a couple of Vickers HMGs, I've got a Piet squad there, and I'm also going to be bringing in the 381mm off-map artillery at the start of the game to provide me with that cover. Over on this right side, we're going to see Val bringing in some AT guns. He's got a mixture of Ranger support squads with the Ranger 30 cal machine guns. He's also going to be using a command truck there to increase their veterancy. Going to be making use of the 2-star mortars at the start of the game as well, and yeah, Val's basically focusing heavily on fire support units at the moment, so mortars, AT guns, machine guns basically, and he's also got this recon unit for the far right side. I didn't start the game with any recon, but I do basically sometimes make it so that I bring in recon on the first minute of requisition points, so that I can get more units on the field earlier on. So at the beginning of the game, I think recon's less important because you generally have an idea of where you're going to put your troops already. So the first minute after your deployment, bringing in recon then allows you to see where you want to go after your troops are deployed, which is, I think, quite a nice way to do it. Unless, of course, you want to use some of your recon as fighting units, like, for example, with the 101st Airborne, where the Pathfinders are sometimes used quite aggressively. So let's take this to my point of view, and we'll see what happens as we get going. I'm just going to show you guys where all of my units are heading out. I've got an Airborne Bren Group heading to the middle of the map to hold the front line there. Got an Airborne Para unit going to this tree line to sneak up here towards the centre of the town. And then the rest of my units are spreading out on the town to the left and to the right. I know that I can take control of this compound, and that should be just over 50%, so that's what I'm planning to do. And it's very important that I don't let the mid collapse. Val's going to be holding that with an AT gun as well, and he's now spreading out on this right side.
Give me the binoculars.
My airborne leader is in position. I've got an airborne leader here with a Piat squad, and the Piat squad literally just going to hold the road, make sure nothing rushes me there. Got my Tetrarch CS's unloaded here, and my Vickers HMG already in line of sight of an AT gun. This is the Pack 41 here. That's going to be engaged by my airborne Vickers. You can see that IC is my opponent, the 3rd Fallschirmjäger deck. And he's going to be relying on these Panzer L6s with the 10 HE power autocannon, which is very, very strong. Finally, my Vickers actually starts to do damage to the Pack 41. You can see that takes it down to a couple of health there. And I'm playing this pretty defensively, just spreading out these units down here. These airborne paras and the airborne Bren group. On the left side, I've left it pretty light. Whereas IC's actually invested in quite a lot of fire support units, the MD34 Fallschirmjäger unit, Pack 41 here, and I'm pretty much just holding that off with a Piat and the airborne leader. I've also got 2 Tetrarch CS's, so they could help me against a Pack 41 if I needed them to, but the best thing about Pack 41 is they're only 50 points, and there's 3-star veterancy there next to a Fallschirmführer, which is really, really strong. So moving up my airborne Vickers here to engage the Fallschirmjäger in the open, and with my units in cover, in heavy cover, and theirs in light cover, I can do a lot of damage to this Fallschirmjäger squad, and that's exactly what I'm trying to achieve here. But the L6, as soon as it gets on target with that autocannon, you can see rips to shreds that Vickers squad. So on the right side, things going relatively well for Val. He's using his mortars to pin down opposing infantry squads, and that's allowing him to get his units onto target. The Beuter Cromwell actually goes down to the M1 gun there as well, which was a really nice kill. Here comes my recon, but what's going to happen is, well, this recon squad suicides towards all these Fallschirmjägers, and I actually lost a unit of airborne scouts on the left side just here to the Pack 41 that I hadn't already seen. So there we go. Time for the off map though. I've got an emergency barrage coming in on top of the L6s there and the Fallschirmjägers to see if I can do any damage, and this might allow me, if I can force them to fall back, to take more ground, and that's really what I'm kind of going for here. I'm also moving up a Tetrarch CS to help me deal with some of the infantry. What's going to happen here is the Pack 41 gets a nice long shot into the Tetrarch, and that is dead. So that was annoying. These Pack 41s are really well equipped to deal with my light armour early on. And I feel like the 3rd Fallschirmjäger is almost a direct counter to the 6th Airborne, but I'll talk about that more as we continue. That off map comes in, takes out the Fallschirmjägers and the Pack 41 there. Doesn't do too much damage to the units in the centre of the ring, so I decided to bring in another one, and I'm just going to try and hit the same area again. It's probably a little short-sighted of me to place it straight away. I probably should have got more information on what I was firing at before I did that. But I didn't really have much to deal with these L6s, and the only thing I could think of was this off map at this point, so that's basically what I'm trying to use it for. L6s will destroy anything I try and bring up, and I've got Piats coming up to try and get into like ambush positions, but the only AT gun I have is the captured German Pack 40 in Phase A, because that's the only one you can get alongside these Piat squads. You can also get Tetrarch, normal Tetrarchs with AP power, but in general they're not that much of a matchup to an L6, because the L6 has 5 like AP power, which is more than enough to penetrate the Tetrarch's 3 armor. Also, now IC is bringing up these LG40s, and these are great for attacking both infantry and like tanks, especially like again my Tetrarchs. And it's going to make it incredibly difficult for me to use Tetrarchs throughout this game, because I can't move down this street at all, because 3 armor on a Tetrarch's going to get killed by an LG40 at this rate. And he's also got the Pack 41 here. He's also got the L6s that can damage them, and they fire nice and quick. You can see this Bren group literally got chewed from like a 10-man squad to nothing so quickly. And with that happening, and with IC repositioning those, he does actually make a slight breakthrough in the centre, giving them a +1 at the start of the game here. I'm trying to get this Tetrarch up just to actually use it and make a difference with it, because HMG's been moved to a bush just to the other side of these buildings, so it can't be fired upon by this fire support, and that could continue to fire down the road. Nearly got line of sight onto the Fallschirmjägers, which would have been nice. Airborne Paras trying to get up into the buildings here before the L6s come back, but L6s arrived just on time, and well, goodbye to that Airborne Paras. It would have been nice if I could have got them into the building and ambushed these L6s, which was the idea, but I see just seeing that come in a mile off, and unfortunately gonna cause my Airborne Paras here to surrender to the MG as it jumps into the building. Should have fallen them back sooner, but they probably would have just got killed by the L6s when they ran into line of sight anyway. So now what I'm going to do is actually bring in the last of my off-map here over on the left side. This is a barrage, so it's like over time, and I thought that maybe if I could take out the units on the left side, I could make some ground over there. He's got his own off-map artillery though, the 210mm off-map coming in on my concentrated infantry here. Fortunately, a lot of my squad survived. Like, I've got the Airborne Bren group here and the Airborne Paras, and I've also got an Airborne Paras that's pinned down currently. But they're accompanied by the Airborne leader, so they should be okay, because HMG's still alive. But what ended up happening was my Piat did not do anything, it just died there, and I also lost the other Vickers HMG squad. So here come the L6s again. My Piat getting into position to ambush those, and here goes the Piat. It's going to have a shot. Transmission damage. And, well, it's been spotted now, so it's dead. And my ambush that I tried once again failed. So this was really unfortunate, and at this point I'm trying to now rely on this pack 75mm that I've got here. I'm holding my infantry in these buildings and bushes where I can, and I'm hoping that maybe he moves the L6s down the road and I can take them out with the pack. So really, yeah, basically hoping on his movements in order to get those kills there. I'm also starting to push on this left side, but the LG40s and the L6s are going to engage my AB Paras and do a lot of damage there. Airborne scouts on the left side going to be pinned down by the MG34 and the Fallschirmjägers. So not making any ground on the left side anytime soon. In the centre, Airborne Bren group being pinned down by more Fallschirmjägers. At that range, Fallschirmjägers just do so much damage. Like, if they can get into 300m range, they'll do even more. It's like prime ranged engagement this is for the Fallschirmjägers, since they do have the MG34s, as well as the G43s and FG42s, which can all engage at 300m range. Also got a Spear Troop squad pushing up as well there. And down here, well, the L6s are going hard again onto my infantry, and they just do so much damage. Look how quickly they kill those Airborne Paras. Also got more off-map artillery coming in. My pack does finally take out one of the L6s on this side of things. I also managed to kill off one of the Fallschirmjäger before the Airborne Paras here get pinned down, and at this range the Airborne Paras actually kill off a Fallschirmjäger squad as well, so that worked out very, very nicely. I'm also trying to use the pack to take out the LG40 here. I hoped that the pack wouldn't miss, but it did, and although the HE managed to do 1 damage to the LG40 reloads very quickly and is able to just continuously pin down my pack from now on. Brought up the reinforcements. I've also brought up these command Tetrarchs, and I'd already identified to you guys that using Tetrarchs in this situation is just a bad idea because of their low armor, and they're not very high veterancy as well. So although they're the only thing that I have to deal with, like Panzer L6s and the LG40s, well, not even the LG40s, but mainly just the tanks at this point, Tetrarchs just get countered by so much of the Fallschirmjäger's fire support. And again here, LG40 going to be hitting my command Tetrarch. I'm trying to get it out of the way, but it just couldn't choose the route it wanted to take and ends up getting shot And that's quite annoying, because if the pack had landed the shot there, my tech truck would have still been alive and been able to provide fire support onto all of these units. But instead this LG40 is just hammering my units, and that was just really unlucky that this pack lost, or the pack didn't hit its target. I guess it was more likely than not that it missed, because it doesn't have any veterancy, but at the same time it was quite frustrating while I was playing. Either way, one of my tech trucks already gone, using the pack here to provide the 4HE shelling, and I've now brought up an MG. I've got an airborne paras going through the tree line here on the right side as well. Got to be careful with these chaps, because they're engaging with a Bren gun which only has 2 HE power. The value of the airborne paras is that they are spectacular at close range, and what I should have been doing is providing smoke. So I'm actually bringing up a mortar now, and this I think was a decent choice at this point. I probably should have had one from the start of the game, honestly, because it would have allowed me to smoke off a lot of these fire support units and allow me to move upon them with my units that basically thrive at close range. So yeah, I've got this mortar on the way, but what I end up doing throughout the game is actually using the HE value of the mortar instead of the smoke, and it's a mistake that I didn't really realise until the game had ended. I was thinking about how I could have possibly countered the Fallschirmjägers in this way, and I know that the Fallschirmjägers are brilliant at 300 meter range, right? And that's why they're winning a lot of these engagements against my infantry, because they are engaging at their optimum range, whereas my airborne paras, their optimum range is 100 meters, where they can engage with 14 HE power worth of like weapons. So again, just using the 3-inch mortar there to damage the LG40. I could have just smoked it and then smoked these chaps and allowed my airborne paras to run across and engage the Fallschirmjägers at close range. So this was pretty much the story of the game. I'm actually bringing up a Cromwell to try and deal with this, because I know that the Fallschirmjägers are actually going to have quite a bit of trouble dealing with stuff that's heavier, and I really need to clean up some of these L6s, because they're damaging anything that I'm kind of throwing at them at the moment. You can see even in the center of the map here, the L6 just takes out Val's 30 cal like it was nothing. So Val's holding relatively well on this right side. We're actually pushing our +1 for the first time in this game. We've just got to be careful that we don't, give away land too much in any particular part of the map. The pack actually takes out one of the L6s as they push forwards, which was nice. And now I've got a second mortar here as well. So again, at this point, smoke. I don't know why I didn't smoke. I don't know if I'm just like out of practice, but smoke at this point, smoking these off, getting assault pioneers close would have been amazing. So I brought in assault pioneers just because we're in phase B now, and I have these guys available. They're cheap, and they deal with Fallschirmjäger squads really well, because if they can get a 22 HE power TNT satchel charge onto a Fallschirmjäger squad, then Fallschirmjäger squad goes boom. So I should have been smoking these assault pioneers as opposed to trying to mortar the enemy fire support directly. And again, I'm just doing it again here. Yes, I killed the LG40 and I'm going to start pinning down this Fallschirmjäger squad, but it's just not doing what I need it to. It's not doing enough to support my infantry on the ground. Bringing in a Mosquito Pathfinder anyway. If we jump to the neutral perspective, I know that there's a couple of Fallschirmjäger squads here, and what I'm going to do is land this napalm onto the buildings, and that's going to pin down and attempt to burn out some of these squads. Fallschirmjägers here are forced forwards, and seeing that, I'm actually going to engage them with my assault pioneers. So the assault pioneers are coming up here, actually going to make the Fallschirmjägers surrender there. LG42 was trying to engage my Cromwell, but Cromwell alongside the pack gonna take that out, so that was really nice. And well, I basically pushed them back here, but over in the middle, Faust managed to break through with a couple of SPW 222s. These guys are the recon carriers, so they've dropped off a couple of recon squads, and now he's just pushing through with them, and it's demolishing a lot of Val's infantry at the moment. Really struggling to hold that centre part, so the +1's gone back to the opponents now. Another Mosquito coming in, and that's going to napalm the other set of buildings on the other side of town. Just trying to burn out the rest of the Fallschirmjägers and the Fallschirmführer there. Command Tetrarch was moving forward. It's going to allow my Cromwell to engage this MG34, as I do want to get rid of that. And that might allow me to move some infantry up on the left by the end of the game. But yeah, I have kind of made the ground back here thanks to those Mosquitoes. Just trying to get some airborne parriers up here to take full advantage. And I'm well aware there's no like AT over on this left side at the moment. So that's why I'm allowing the Cromwell to kill off the MG34. Val's going to be bringing in 2 ME-109s. These are the 2-star veterans. And they're going to be harassing Val's M5 gun in the centre. My airborne Bren group are engaging some Fallschirmjägers. And the Fallschirmjägers, since they have depleted their MG34s, aren't able to engage with that. So 6HE versus 5HE. The Bren group actually have a decent chance, which is quite hilarious. Generally that wouldn't be the case. Over on this left side, HS129B1 coming in to take out my Cromwell 5, and they have air superiority, so that's what they're going for right now. It's also coming across to have a go at Val's tank destroyer here, but ran out of ammunition with the last shot being fired, and Val's M10 survives to fight another day. So at this point, with all of this Air Force coming out, it's really time for us to do something about it. So I was having a chat with Val about how we would do that, and if you had any fighters available, and what we're going to do to coordinate. So you'll see from now on, we're moving towards Phase C. We're going to start relying more on our Air Force and starting to try and counter the opposing Air Force plays. Since my Cromwell's gone down here anyway, there's not too much I can do to counter the L6. I'm trying to get the Command Tetrarch over here to engage the L6, so that's what I'm going for there. I also have a 17-pounder here to help out. So my mortars doing their work. This one's just firing over to the left side here. I'm trying to get rid of this MG34 once and for all. This 3-inch mortar is currently being hit by the GE or the GEB-H. Is firing some long-range arty, counter-battering my 3-inch mortar there. We managed to take out the L6 on the left side, which is great. I was really happy about that. As many L6s as I can kill is always better. So yeah, just trying to kill as many as possible. And that should give me an easier time of pushing back against him. Just trying to take out the Fallschirmführer there with the Command Tetrarch. This MG34 basically managed to survive so many airstrikes. It was really, really annoying. And on this left side, it's another example of where smoke would have been absolutely perfect. So basically at this point, here comes the air. We've got lots of Air Force out at the moment. I've got my Tempest, I've got my Mosquito Pathfinders, I've got 2 Tempests, and Val has P-38 Lightning and the P-47 Gabby here, which is one of the hero units with the different skin. Looks really, really awesome. Just having that flying about. My Tetrarch on the left goes down to one of the Pak-41s, but it did manage to kill the L6, so in my books that was worth it. That Mosquito Pathfinder we saw actually drop some napalm onto the Flak 41 here, and that's going to be starting to burn them out. Also landed on top of the LG-42 and did a lot of damage to them too. So the infantry engagement's continuing here. Fallschirm Pioneer now being used by IC to engage my airborne paras and the air landing here. Artillery is coming down into the middle of the town. onto my airborne paras. And again, this is another example of smoke. I don't know why I didn't use smoke in this game. I know so many of you guys will say it in the comments, like, why didn't you use smoke? And I'm not entirely sure why. I think I was so focused on like dealing with the L6s that it just didn't occur to me that smoke would be a decent idea. I just basically tried to use what I normally do with like I'm so used to like my 716th strategy where I don't always use smoke. I just like use Osttruppen and draw their fire and then use IG-18s to hit them from range. I'm so bad at playing divisions that rely on getting close range, and it's basically because of my lack of smoke use. Either way, mosquitoes coming in. They're going to be landing the perfect napalm onto the Fallschirmjägers here. Fallschirmjägers going to be running through the flames. Same with the Fallschirm Pioneers. And well, Fallschirmjägers die, Fallschirm Pioneers get out alive. Air landing here, being pinned down by the MG34. And things are, I guess, pretty even on the left side, honestly, in terms of map control. We're just losing a little bit of ground in the middle, which is causing them to have a +1. Over on the right side, we're holding best we can. But you can see there is a Befehl Panther arriving for Faust. We have moved into phase C now, so things not looking particularly great. The Pak 41 here, high veterancy, smashes one of my trucks as I'm trying to reinforce and gets a free kill onto one of my infantry squads, which was really frustrating. This mortar's still firing away, trying to take out that MG34. And finally, it gets taken out. So over on this right side, managed to sneak up some Bren Group. They're going to be engaging this Pak 41, trying to get rid of that. The more AT guns I can get rid of, the better, because I can actually start to use some more of my Cromwells and so on to assist my airborne units in pushing up, like my infantry, that is. Because I wasn't using smoke throughout this game, I was just looking for other ways to support my units, and tanks were the only one I could really think of. And even though I'm not like a tank-based deck, and this isn't like Guards Armoured or anything, you still do get Cromwells and you get Challengers, so those are relatively okay for assisting you against infantry at least. The Cromwells are pretty decent for that. Now this airborne Bren Group, as it was retreating, it just got shot from so many sides. It was amusing. In the centre, Val's reinforcing with some Bofors here, and he's also got this 50 cal trying to take out the Pak 38. I was watching this during the game and I was quite amazed how many shots it took for this Pak 38 to take any damage. The 50 cal was hammering it for so long, the Bofors was as well, and the M10 here only did 1 HE damage to that, or like just one damage in general. What I'm going to do here is bring out my Mosquito Pathfinder. That's actually going to go for a napalm strike onto these AT guns and support guns. But basically what it leads to is a massive furball of air engagement. So I've got 3 Tempests in the sky. Val has the Gabi and the P38. I'm also bringing in a Mosquito to back things up, and there goes one of the ME-109s. I'm getting the Mosquito onto the back of one of the ME-109s. My Mosquito has been forced to fall back though. Tempest's going hard onto these ME-109s, and unfortunately I overshoot, so those guys are going to get out. And well, after all that, what ends up happening is I think most of the planes survive and they get out of here. ME-109 is trying to get onto the P-47 Gabi there. Val's also going to be bringing in another Thunderbolt to assist, but both sides having their planes forced to fall back. Over here it's mainly due to the 37mm AT gun, or AA gun, sorry. And his ME-109 is going to get straight onto the back of his P-47 Thunderbolt. I'm going to bring in a Mosquito Pathfinder to try and save the day. Managed to make his ME-109 fall back. But I don't want to stick around to engage his second ME-109, so I'm going to get my Mosquito Pathfinder out there as soon as possible. So the engagements continue. From my point of view, I'm holding relatively well. I want to get rid of this Panzer L6, and I want to try and push forwards, but I felt like throughout the entire game, the engagement range of the 3rd Fallschirmjäger was a massive issue, and the fact that I didn't have any significant armor to counter the L6s early on really punished me hard. But then again, I could have fixed a lot of it quite simply by using smoke, and yeah, it's just one of those games really. In hindsight, you can always be like, oh yeah, you should use smoke. It's just that with the 716th that I've been playing a lot recently, smoke's not a massive deal. I've actually brought in another 381mm off-map artillery for the right side, bringing in another emergency battery to help Val out here. So you can see that's going to be landing towards the Panther and some of this infantry, and that was pretty much the idea. We wanted to make this Panther fall back. Faust probably accidentally artied his own units there. And what can sometimes happen is if you leave a Panzerwerfer on the same fire position as it was previously, it can lead to it just firing again once it's reloaded. Over here, Mosquito Pathfinder and Tempest going to be getting out of there alongside Val's unit as they bring in multiple fighters. I was hoping to go for an air engagement, but when they brought out 4 fighters at the same time, I don't think all of mine were off cooldown, so yeah, it didn't really work out. Either way, 52% territory lead for the opponents, Faust and IC. Currently winning by 800 conquest points, and it's not looking great at the moment. I'm being pushed pretty hard here. The Fulton Pioneers engaging my air landing. 17-pounder in the centre of the map is going to get taken out by artillery. And well, I finally have my Cromwell 5 here, and that's engaging the Panzer L6. This mortar on the left side is continuing to hit opposing forces, and the L6 is destroyed there. So if we go to the neutral perspective, I was trying to take out this Pak 41 on the left side. That would allow me to bring up something to deal with the Stug, like a Challenger or something. But in general, just being outclassed in the town by all of this infantry. I took out a lot of the initial Fallschirmjäger squads, honestly, but just couldn't really keep up against what the opponent was bringing in. And once the Fulton Pioneers actually start coming in, the smoke's not as useful as it once was. So smoke in Phase A and Phase B would have been perfect, but in Phase C, or in Phase B even, when the Fulton Pioneers arrive, then you're a bit more stuck. One of my Mosquito bombers is going to go down there to all of these ME-109s. This Mosquito Pathfinder is literally going to do a runner, because I don't want that to be taken out by all these ME-109s, and I don't know, we're just not having a great time here. And on this right side, Faust is breaking through. His Befehl Panther has not been destroyed. The M10 is getting hit pretty damn hard by the aircraft there, and forcing that to fall back due to its lower morale. Bringing in another off-map artillery. I can't really see too much at the moment, so I'm just kind of guessing where they're reinforcing or where they are potentially going to reinforce. So I saw the Panzer Grenadier squad there, thought there might be just generally units surrounding it, so went for that the strike there, the fire for effect, see if we could either just take out that infantry squad or try and hit some other units. But Faust done really well to spread his units as much as possible, and he's using a combination of infantry and half tracks to push forwards. The Befehl Panther here is going to come up and clean up the M10. And he's also used Panzerwerfers to push the line, and now here comes the Flak 88s. The mouth map hits relatively hard, doesn't kill off any units though. Over on the left side, still using my Mosquito Pathfinder. That's going to be landing napalm onto both the Pack 40 and the Pack 41. Just to burn out those AT guns, basically, and also do some damage to the Fallschirmjäger. So the Mosquito Pathfinders throughout this game really pulling their weight, doing a lot of damage. Tempest coming in here to try and shoot down the Focke-Wulf 190G1 bomber. But what's going to happen is the Tempest is going to get shot down straight away by the ME-109 here. When the ME-109 gets on target, the Bofors not doing quite enough. Oh, never mind, the Tempest does get out this time around. I'm pretty sure it got shot down, but no, just about survived there. Either way, again, Mosquito Pathfinder quickly turning around and running away. And well, since Faust has pushed through on the right side and we've reached Phase C, we decide that it's game over, and myself and Val surrender. So after 31 minutes and 46 seconds, we lose the game. And it was quite a convincing defeat, honestly, when the right side collapsed there and Faust started rolling through with the SS Panzer. It was really, yeah, Val was really struggling because he completely ran out of infantry towards the end, and I don't know, we kind of lacked AT options as well. I did have 17 pounders, but on this division, they're not even vetted, so it's really hard to work with. So if we jump to the team's perspective, unfortunately Val lost quite a lot of units. Myself though, 1,561 kills to 1,515. I think I was trading relatively well with IC and his third Fallschirmjäger deck, even though I wasn't using smoke like I should have been. And that was pretty much the story of this map and this game. Was I should have used those mortars for smoke support as well as HE support, and that was my biggest mistake, because it would have allowed my airborne paras to actually be used at their full efficiency, as opposed to engaging at max range with a 2 HE powered Bren gun. That was really quite depressingly bad from me in this game. But either way, I sort of supplemented it in different ways to what I should have done. So what I should have done is smoke, obviously, but supplemented it instead with tanks and other units that tend to counter the Fallschirmjäger decks. So the Fallschirmjägers have trouble dealing with heavier units in Phase A and Phase B, especially anything like heavier than their L6s, and anything with more armor than the Pack 41s can penetrate. That's like the biggest issue with the third Fallschirmjägers. So if I could take advantage of that, that would be great. But yeah, Tetrak's just not good enough in Phase A to work with that strategy, so I kind of shot myself in the foot there. And I wasn't really used to playing the division, so yeah, I can make as many excuses as I like, but it all comes down to the fact that Faust and IC played very, very well. Faust there getting the 2,655 kills to 1,340 losses, so doing a spectacular job with that division. We have a look at the kills. The M1 gun going to be popping the Boiter Cromwell there. This is Val's AT gun. This was at the start of the game. That one did really well. This M10 didn't really pay itself off. Neither did this one. Just one L6. They're going down. That Gabby got a couple of kills though, and the Thunderbolt picking off an ME-109. In terms of losses, you can see that the SPW-222s there took out 2 Ranger support squads. That's quite crazy. I'd like to look at my own kills and losses, but I ended it on the neutral perspective, so it gave us Val's kills and losses. That Befelled Panther really went to work when it killed off 2 M10 destroyers, as well as all of these other squads, including some Ranger Marauders there. That's really got to hurt. And there you have it. That's basically it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. It's basically a story of use smoke, especially with the 6th Airborne anyway. I think certain divisions should utilize smoke more or less based upon how their units are useful in an engagement. So for example, with the Fallschirmjägers there, I don't think he necessarily needed to use much smoke, because the Fallschirmjäger units are ideal for engaging with in 300 meter range. But with the Airborne Paras, you want them in the 100 meter range, and the only way you're going to get them that close is by using smoke. And yeah, I don't know how many times I can say smoke anymore, but that's all it is. Either way guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.